Hello and welcome to Simply Nitin. Last week, I had asked some of you who watch this program to suggest some subjects, some topics, something to discuss on this program and what you feel I should be talking about. I'm glad that many of you have written back on our Twitter handle. Our direct messaging is open and you've taken advantage of that, written to us. So today, I'm glad to say that I am taking up one of those suggestions. This has been sent by somebody with the Twitter handle called Nomadic Oyster. And he has suggested that we should talk about Sikkim's accession to India. I call it Sikkim's merger in the Indian Union. And coincidentally, this is the month when Sikkim's merger into India, exactly 45 years ago, was accelerated. The actual merger officially is attributed to a date in May 1975, but it was in April 1975, to be precise on 10th of April 1975, that the Sikkim State Council, equivalent to a state assembly, passed two resolutions about abolishing the institution of Chogyal or King of Sikkim and urging the Union of India to accept Sikkim's merger into the Indian Union. So historically, this is the month of April, when Sikkim actually almost became part of India, and of course it was validated in May 1975. You are on Simply Nitin, and I'm going to talk about how Sikkim's merger was brought about. So the story goes back to 1947 really, when India became independent. All of you are aware there were more than 600 odd princely states which were scattered all over the Indian subcontinent, which were to be merged or to be annexed by India into the Indian Union. Sardar Patel, India's first Home Minister, did that job commendably. As we know, it's a separate story to be spoken about sometime else. But while it came to Sikkim and Bhutan, India's first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru wanted Sikkim to have a special status like Bhutan. Bhutan was a separate country or a protectorate of India under the British, and it continued to be so for a while, and then of course now it's a separate country. Jawaharlal Nehru wanted Sikkim to have a special status because he did not want China to be offended. That's what historical documents say. And incidentally, Jawaharlal Nehru's daughter, Indira Gandhi, in 1972, told her closest aides that perhaps her father was wrong in the way he allowed Sikkim to gain special status during the debates on Constituent Assembly, in the Constituent Assembly, in fact. And of course, then it was she who ordered her closest aides, her principal secretary, and of course the chief of the RNAW, the Research and Analysis Wing, RN Cow, to do something about getting Sikkim merged in the Indian Union or Sikkim annexed, the flip side of it. How did that happen and why was it happening? All of you who read and watch StratNews Global would have read or watched an interview with an author, Prabal Dasgupta, who has written a book on the 1967 Nathula clash between India and China, where the Indian troops got the better of the Chinese troops at Nathula, which is in Sikkim. It's a pass going into Tibet. Now, that is the time when the Chinese were really aggressive on Sikkim, and they were creating trouble, which was anticipated by the Indian government. And Mrs. Gandhi, post the 1971 liberation of East Pakistan, which turned into Bangladesh as a separate country, turned to RN Cow, who was at the apogee of his achievements and of his skills as the chief of India's external intelligence agency. She turned to him and told him that do something about Sikkim. That's when the wheels started moving, and in December 1972, a plan was unveiled, or plan was put together by RNAW, the Ministry of External Affairs, and the Ministry of Home Affairs in the Indian government to make sure that Sikkimese democratic parties, which were very unhappy in 1947 that India did not stand by them in making Sikkim a state of one of the states of India, were then directed, instigated, financed, and supported by the Indian government for nearly 2.5 years, 27-month operation. There were two operations launched by RNAW, Operation Janamat and Operation Twilight, to make sure that the resentment, popular resentment against Chogyal, who essentially was the king of Sikkim, was trying to make moves which were inimical to India's security. He was trying to have a separate country, or was trying to secede and was trying to create trouble in the border state, which is a Himalayan state near Bhutan and on the China border or the Tibet border. So Indira Gandhi decided that he should be not just taught a lesson, but Sikkim should become an integral part of India. So interestingly, the RNAW launched this operation in December 1972. As I said, financed the political parties. Prominent among them was the Sikkim National Congress, led by Kazi Lendub Dorji, who eventually became the first chief minister of Sikkim in 1975. And between December 72 and April 1975, the RNAW kept directing the events in Sikkim, which were skillfully orchestrated, so that the people, it seemed as if the people of Sikkim wanted democratization, wanted the removal of the Chogyal, which was a traditional royalty that was ruling Sikkim for centuries. And eventually, it was the democratic election which took place in April 1974, which started changing the status of Sikkim. It was finally merged into the Indian Union through an act of parliament in mid-May 1975. But in 45 years, Sikkim has come a long way. It is one of the most developed states of the country. It's one of the most advanced states in terms of protecting the environment. It encourages organic farming, and its citizens have done well over these last 45 years, although some kind of a resentment sometimes bubbles up against the way in which Sikkim was tricked into getting merged into India. If you want to read more, there is of course a book by one of the former RNAW operatives, GBS Sidhu, who has written a book on Sikkim's merger. But even my own book on the founder of RNAW, RN Kao, has a separate chapter on the Sikkim merger. It's the 13th chapter, Shepherding Sikkim's Merger, which details all the goings on, all the manipulation, all the directions in which the RNAW, the MEA, the other parts of the other arms of the government actually allowed the entire events to move towards the eventual merger of Sikkim. Notably, there are other books which of course contest the fact that this was a democratic exercise. It was people's uprising that eventually led to Sikkim's merger into the Indian Union. But that's a point of view. The fact is, it was deliberately done. It was an operation which was well thought out, which was well directed. And the RNAW, fresh from its success in East Pakistan / Bangladesh, also had another feather in its cap with the merger of Sikkim in May 1975. But this was the month, April 1975, when the Sikkim State Council, which turned into the State Assembly, actually passed the two crucial resolutions, because Kazi Lendub Dorji had majority in the State Council at that point in time, and he could pass those resolutions, which were, I would say, orchestrated by the Indian state, and eventually Sikkim became part of the Indian Union. That's an interesting slice of history I thought I'll share with you. But as I said, keep sending your suggestions, keep liking us on our social media handles, and our DMs are open on the StratNews Global Twitter handle. If you have any suggestions, if you have any important topics that you want me to discuss, Do send in your feedback, and I'll try and take up one of those issues like I have done in this edition, which was sent by, as I said, somebody who goes with the Twitter handle Nomadic Oyster. I'm thankful to him because it coincided with the 45th anniversary of Sikkim's eventual merger into the Indian Union. I'm Nitin Gokhale. Stay home, stay safe until the lockdown is lifted.